The DJ accepts no responsibility for the next record.
Say what? Oh no, he's there. Where's the money, man? Where's my money?
It's time to man up, America.
Let's do this.
All right, guys, we are live on WTNB. I'm in the studio today, despite all of the storms and damage that we saw last night. We are here. We're here once again. Charter Channel 5, Comcast 210, 27.1 on your digital TV dial. And some of you will be catching this broadcast after we're done through Facebook.com/manuptalk or on WTNB's YouTube page. More and more of you are saying that you're choosing to, I guess, you hear us on the radio, which is Talk 101.3 The Buzz, which we're on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but then you're catching this show later. Now, I told you yesterday on the show that today we were going to talk about racial unrest in this country, and that we had Demetrius Ramsey coming on, a guest who used to be the president of 100 Black Men of Cleveland, a friend of mine who we were going to actually talk openly about the condition of racism. But I think most of you would understand that what took place last night, another wave of not nearly as bad as 2011, but bad enough to do some destruction in Polk County and in the Athens area, that Mr. Ramsey has been called to greater tasks for the day and will be rescheduling. I hope to have him on this program tomorrow. So if we can have him on the program tomorrow, that'll be great. So I'm going to actually today, I'm slightly unprepared. I had this great show planned that we were going to talk about racial relations in this country. And like most of you, I've been up since 2 a.m. The weather alarm goes off. I hear the hail banging the side of my house, and I actually live on the Polk County side of Bradley County, and the storm missed us by a few miles, but we got some of that hail. So I'm running on fumes here, and I don't have a whole lot to tell you other than I know that the shrink Rob Alderman is out working the chain gang right now. And so we're actually going to get him on the phone, and so we're going to call the shrink Rob Alderman and get his assessment of what he's seeing on the ground out in, I think he's in the Polk County area, but we'll let him talk about that. And hopefully, those of you who've been looking for information, I know that Channel 9 has been great. Paul Barris, I spent most of the early morning watching him. We've all been receiving the feeds through Facebook and social media and Twitter on the condition of the community out there. But let's just give the shrink Rob Alderman a call and see where he is in the process of chain ganging. For those of you who don't know, Rob and a bunch of his buddies literally manned up with chainsaws. They call themselves the Chain Gang, and in 2011 really took on cleaning up some of the roads. And, of course, it's probably going to voicemail.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
You're live on the air, Mr. Alderman.
Hey, what's up, guys?
So tell us what you see. You're out chain ganging. You got Ogre with you and a bunch of other guys.
Yeah, Oak's driving right now. We got a couple other guys in the truck behind us, and we're out here. I mean, we went through kind of near Delano because so much of 411 was closed. So we're just now getting to where there's a lot of stuff down. I mean, it looks like we're like where stuff is hitting now, but we haven't been in it real deep yet. We're still trying to coordinate to find exactly like which residences we can go cut at.
Okay, so you're in the Delano area of Polk County right now?
I was. I'm in downtown Benton now.
Okay. Are you coordinating with anyone?
Yeah, we're getting ready to meet up over at the. There's a Masonic lodge here, where. Oh, is that it? Hey, is that the lodge? Is it so? There ain't nobody there. No, that's not it. Sorry, I'm talking to Ogre. For those of you who don't know, Ogre's like my good luck charm. Who keeps me safe.
Hire a vet handyman services. It's a free plug for Ogre on the show. So
yeah, it is.
Multi-talented.
Hire vet handyman services. We're on the radio right now, Ogre. So he's plugging you right now.
So you're going to meet up. Who are you supposed to be meeting with to coordinate, and what information do you have? Okay.
Yeah, we're going to meet up with Chief Lofty out here. It's interesting. We saw some more down stuff like as we were cutting back across, but we were really worried about 411 and the being closed. Now we're getting to it now. That guy's gone. All right, yeah, we're kind of getting into it now. There's some definitely like structural damage stuff, and we just passed a trailer that looked like it had seen better days.
And so you guys will be out pretty much with chainsaws clearing the way. Has the rain let up for you?
No, it's gross. It's gross out here right now. We're looking for this Masonic lodge. You know, that's where all the secret things happen. That's the Masonic lodges.
Well, this destruction's the worst kept secret, if that's the case. So you'll meet up there, and they'll probably give you some location assignments to go and cut away. How many folks do you have with you?
Four, and we got 4 guys, 4 saws, and what we do is we start with the elderly and the people without insurance, because those tend to be the ones where stuff like just sits and sits and sits.
Okay. So you won't be really clearing the main roads. That's left up to other folks.
Yeah, the main roads is not where they send us. They'll send us to like where the engineers need to get to electrical boxes. These guys typically drop trees that other people won't drop. This isn't like a guy out there with an electric chainsaw, so you don't want to waste the time on that. Mm-hmm. You want to. These are the guys that are like pulling trees away from that are about to fall on a roof.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
So you're just now kind of getting into the epicenter of some of the damage. If you're in Benton, you're still quite a ways away from most of the destruction, which took place in the Ocoee Old Fort area.
That's right.
And based on you said you've been working with Chief Lofty, what's their assessment of the damage so far?
I don't know, other than like we haven't talked much except for specifically like what our duties are going to be. So I don't want to speak. I don't really want to speak to that. I can just tell you, I've heard that where the damage is, that it's pretty severe.
And do you?
It's not light.
Yeah, it's not a couple of shingles off a roof. It's homes are gone.
That's right. Yeah, we just went by. It was just gone, but we're still heading out.
So, do you have any information on the final assessment of what actually took place? I've seen everything up to 3 tornadoes, cell centers touched down. Some said just 1. I haven't heard any F ratings yet. Do you have any of that information?
No, they haven't given that to me. If I get it, I'll text you.
Okay. Well, we'll let you get to work in finding the Masonic Lodge. We're glad to have the Shrink Rob Alderman out there representing and clearing the way. I know this is a passion of yours. It's something you guys started in 2011, and you actually went to Joplin, Missouri, and did this work.
Yeah,
so.
This is our 6th, I think, at this point, 6 tornadoes that we've done now. So kind of becoming a thing. Once you got the gear, you got to use it, right?
Yeah, well, I guess so. Somebody, if you've got it, someone else doesn't. So you got to get out there and use it.
That's right.
All
All
right,
right, man. I'm
Shrink.
going to let you go so we can find this lodge.
Absolutely,
All right.
sir. Be safe.
All right.
Thank you.
We will. All right. Bye.
All right, folks, you heard it. That's the Shrink Rob Alderman. He's out with his crew called the Chain Gang, and they are felling trees in the Benton Polk County area. Like he said, they'll more than likely help the elderly today and work a little bit with those folks who don't have insurance to get some of those things cleared, clearing ways for them to restore power. I do know that Polk County Schools is closed tomorrow as well, so damage in those areas. And much to the tune of us talking about the Gatlinburg fire, and I don't know, it just feels like one tragedy after the other. And I know we live in a tragic culture and tragic times. I think William Shakespeare may have said the same thing back in his day, but our thoughts and prayers with rescue workers who are out there still in very gross conditions because it's still raining, it's still windy, and they're trying to do this in the rain. Back in 2011, when tornadoes passed through Bradley County, Tennessee, I was on the county commission here in Bradley County. And my district, the 4th District of Bradley County, was hit pretty heavily during that 2011 storm. I remember being hunkered down with my family that evening and emerging the next morning as soon as daylight broke. And I had been getting communication from the school system, which I was the chair of education at the time. I was getting communication from Bradley County Fire and Rescue, from folks on the ground, just telling me what was taking place. We had friends whose homes were absolutely decimated, and we were getting updates from them at the hospital. And I remember at daybreak trying to find a way out to go and assess the damage and to help with some of the efforts on getting food, water, and placement for people. And that experience for me was one of the most sobering of my life. The days following that, the very next day, we had arranged for some rollback dumpsters to come into Bates Point, which was a community that had got hit very hard, and Willow Creek, another community. And my fellow Commissioner Howard Thompson and I pretty much split the duties. I took Bates Point, he took the other location. We managed volunteer crews from Caldwell Paving. So Jonathan Cantrell had donated his heavy equipment, and we cleared access routes for people to get to the wreckage. And why was this important? Well, it's kind of the very thing that Rob and those guys are dealing with right now, and the rescue workers are dealing with in Polk County, is after a storm, in a day like today, it's still raining. And when your home's decimated, whatever's left that can be salvaged doesn't need to sit through blowing around through another round of storms or through more water damage. And in 2011, we did have about 24 hours before another storm came through. It wasn't nearly a bad storm, but it was a lot of rain. And so we used that 24-hour window to clear those corridors so people could get back to their homes and get their valuables. And that's not something we think about governmentally, and this is kind of the point that I want to make. Government, I was a part of the governmental process. We had an emergency called meeting with the county commission, the county mayor, our local fire and rescue, TEMA, the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency, was there. Experts from FEMA about the FEMA process had come in. And I'll tell you, this is what we were told on a governmental level. His FEMA money was coming, but here's the protocol and how you proceed with cleanup and restoration. And if you want to be reimbursed by the federal government for this storm damage, you better adhere to the protocol. And that protocol worked very well for this community over time, but it wasn't all-encompassing. It wasn't complete. It didn't hit everything. That protocol, that process of government coming in to help was not enough in a moment like that. Not from local government, not from state government, not from federal government. It didn't address people without water immediately. It did not address long-term recovery for people who were underinsured or uninsured. It did not address clearing local roadways so people could get to their house to find their family photos and their important documents and their family heirlooms. FEMA doesn't do those things. The federal, state, and local government doesn't do those things. It took neighbors doing those things. It took local nonprofits, Matt Ryerson with the local United Way, stepping up and chairing the long-term recovery organization led by Jim Pollier, who actually saw through for almost 36 months recovery for people. It took the individual initiative of commissioners like me and Howard Thompson to almost defy the protocol so we could get dumpsters on site immediately to clear roadways so people could get to their homes. We had to do those things ourselves. So I think that it's great that we have government programs in place for disasters like this. It's great that FEMA can come in and help. It's great that TEMA can come in and help, just like they've been doing in the fires in Gatlinburg. But as you've been watching, if you've been on social media, if you've been listening, you know that there are many more efforts outside of government that are meeting the needs of a disaster, meeting the needs of an absolutely torn community. And without those efforts, where would we be? Woodman Life. I'm wearing the shirt today, Woodman Life, one of the sponsors of this program. Woodman Life right now is administering disaster benefits to people who've lost their homes in the Gatlinburg, Tennessee area. They have worked with diaper drives for people who need to get diapers for their children. They're working with, they even went as far as to organize with other nonprofits a comfort drive, which in getting teddy bears for smaller kids. Just something to distract them from the fact that they're probably sleeping on the floor of a convention center or in a school gym. Those are the efforts that government doesn't meet, and government shouldn't meet. We should not depend on the government for everything in our lives. At some point, folks, we have to do what the shrink Rob Alderman is doing today, what Ogre's out doing today, what so many volunteer firemen are doing today. We have to be neighborly. We have to be neighborly. So here's my encouragement for you, whether it's the fires in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, whether it's the destruction that's taken place in Polk County, McMinn County, find a way to be neighborly. Find a way to reach out to someone and to help out, because if you think the government's going to save them, if you think the government's going to help restore them, the government's going to help them rebuild, you are sorely, sorely mistaken. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to leave the disaster and talk a little bit more about what's happening nationwide. Following on Talk 101.3 to Buzz today, Emily Beatty had a wonderful program on the Noonday Buzz about the lack of media coverage on issues that we would deem important. The lack of media coverage on issues related to what we've seen in the destruction of Gatlinburg and what the media was reporting instead. Let's be real, folks. Let's man up on this issue. We live in a time where people distrust media coverage. We talked about it yesterday. The logical fallacies have destroyed the integrity of the information we consume. Fake news on Facebook, whatever you call it. But cherry-picking news is hurting as well. It's going to take local media, and it's going to take folks like you to bring back the integrity of news media. You're listening to Talk 101.3 The Buzz, WTNB Television. This is Man Up America. I'm the Good Doctor. We'll be back in a moment.
So, how's the new job?
Love it. But it's not just a job, it's a career.
Life insurance? Love?
I told you Woodman Life is really active in the community, right? They support all kinds of community improvement projects. How's your job, by the way?
Don't ask.
Begin your financial career today with Woodman Life by calling 423-790-2847.
Woodman of the World Life Insurance Society of Omaha, Nebraska. Woodman Life, standing strong for generations.
Are you looking to refinance your home, or perhaps you're in the market to actually purchase? Take it from the good Dr. J. Adam. There's no need to go far and wide to look for mortgage help. Call 339-8086, Home Mortgage Solutions, LLC, right here in Cleveland. Their team's prepared to help you with lending, with refi options. Just give them a call, 339-8086, and tell them the good Dr. Jay Adams sent you.
Woodman Life has been keeping its promises to members for more than 100 years. That means we've survived the Great Depression, Black Friday, and all the other ups and downs our economy has faced. In good times and bad, we're strong and stable. We're an organization your family can count on. At Woodman Life, we've always believed that slow and steady really does win the race. Our conservative investment philosophies are just one part of the strength of our organization. What really makes Woodman Life strong is the trust and loyalty of our members.
Contact your local Woodman representative today by calling 423-790-2847. With 3 offices serving Southeast Tennessee, your Woodman representative standing by to help you.
Woodman of the World Life Insurance Society of Omaha, Nebraska. Woodman Life, standing strong for generations.
The good Dr. Jay Adam here, talking to all the gentlemen out there. For those of you with wives, girlfriends, even mothers, which would make all of you, you need to call 423-472-8887 and talk to the good folks at Bliss Day Spa. Nothing says I love you like the special treatment, the VIP treatment of the services of Bliss Day Spa. Call them today, 423-472-8887. Tell them the good doctor sent you from Man Up America. All right, and we're back. You're listening to Man Up America, Talk 101.3 The Buzz, WTNB Television, 27.1, Charter Channel 5, Comcast 210. We just checked in with Rob Alderman, the Shrink, as he's out with the Chain Gang, working on damage that took place in Polk County last night with our tornadoes. Again, our thoughts and prayers and our efforts. Let me follow that. We say thoughts and prayers and our efforts go to those who need us right now. Again, take the opportunity to be neighborly. Government's not going to do everything. Government's not going to meet every need in a community. You see the needs of your neighbors, your family, your friends. Get involved with your church. Get involved with your civic organization. There are ways that are constantly broadcast for you to get engaged, involved. It's not just about money. It can be time, talent, or treasure. Do something for somebody else, because it matters. It matters. All right, moving on. We are piggybacking on our discussion yesterday. For those of you who tuned into the program, we discussed logical fallacies. And I've had a lot of you say, man, that was informative, but what a nerdy program. Guys, it's time that we actually man up on how we need to educate ourselves. And this logical fallacy program we did yesterday simply was a way to talk about how we argue about things that don't matter. We argue about things that don't matter. And I used several examples of logical fallacies, but I'll bring up one that we talked about yesterday today just as an example. We talked about how it was a logical fallacy when we used circular reasoning. And we use the example of oftentimes the anti-gun lobby, in which they say, in areas where there are no guns, gun crimes are down. And how the answer to the question was in the question, and that makes it circular. When we're really not concerned about whether gun crimes are down, we're concerned about whether crimes are down. Specifically violent crimes, murders. So the real question in the debate would have been, are violent crimes down because of guns? Well, when you pose that question, which is true to what you're discussing, things don't necessarily spell out the way folks frame them. So it's just an example of why it's important to understand when you're crafting an argument And why does it matter that we debate? And why has social media, why has Facebook become such an avenue for people to debate and argue? Why do we do that? We do that because we are compelled to convince people of what we perceive as the truth. Most of you listening to this program in this community go to some church or house of worship. And the whole premise of being there, the whole reason a man stands behind a pulpit on Sunday and delivers a message is to educate you so you can understand truth. And we do that individually too, but we cannot water down the truth with poor logical fallacies. We can't do that. We have to man up, and we have to bring ourselves to talk about the true issues we're trying to address. So, as we talk about logical fallacies, I really picked on the national media yesterday. We manned up, and I played a clip, and I know it's some of you's favorite news source, but I played a clip from Fox News, Sean Hannity. And I like Sean Hannity, I do, but he's the world's worst at logical fallacies. And we went through just one after the other, repetitive, one after the other, that he was guilty of, using. But it's not just him. It's every major news network. I've seen it from Anderson Cooper, Rachel Maddow. I've seen it from all of those folks. Because why? They're really reaching to fill that content. Really reaching to fill that content. So they reach to try to create debate, to create good television, to create good radio. But here's the problem. We've seen the news articles now that are talking about fake news on social media because the integrity of our media reporting is so diminished, because most people in America feel like they don't get the truth. We seek out the truth in other ways, and these vipers who create fake news have crept in and found your weakness. They know that you're thirsty for the truth. They know that you're thirsty for good news, and they fill the void with very, very fake news. And why do you consume it? Well, you consume it because it sounds good to your ears. It sounds good to your ears. So you're consuming fake news, you're getting poor news from the real media outlets, and you're left with bad information. So yesterday's program was about looking through how people deliver information, how they argue and debate, and look for the substance. Look for the substance. Today's program, we dedicated our first half to what's taking place in Polk County, but today's program is a little more to the tune of not only finding the substance when you're trying to seek truth in media, but what are we going to do to hold people accountable and responsible? What's our objective? Because here's the deal. We cannot come together as a culture, and this leads into the racial debate that we're going to have, a racial show that we're talking about, racial discord. We cannot improve our situation in society. We cannot bring integrity back to the media. We cannot bring integrity back to politics. We cannot bring human good back to society unless we all make a commitment to do it. Some of you are fine with living in your bubble, your media bubble too. You're fine with living in this snow globe of fake news, of rhetoric, and of logical fallacies. You've created a reality that is a logical fallacy. You've constructed it, and you're living in that bubble. And you don't realize that the truth is there. The truth is there. If you will commit to finding it, if you'll set your personal views and wishes aside, it is there, set to find it. I'm going to read a little note here. It says, and this was written on election eve. As I sit here, I begin to watch the election conclude. I'm compelled on so many levels to look back, since I'm really nobody. I'm using Facebook as a platform to make a promise. I hope everyone else, regardless of party affiliation, will make the same commitment. To our next president, regardless of who it may be, whether I voted for you or not, you will be my president. I promise to participate in the economy, pay my taxes, embrace the call to support our troops, pray for you, and continually work on a local level to make my community, my nation, and my children's future better. I will seek out your good and I'll help any honest effort to make our nation better. I promise to do this not as a patriot, not as a partisan, but as an appreciative citizen. Remember that you are in office because the people selected you. You are hired to work for the people of the United States, not the people of the world. In the midst of my support, you will be held accountable for your performance. If you perform well, if you bring up our nation, if you embrace the great values of our founding fathers, I will commend you. If you fail, I will replace you with someone else. To anyone reading this post, as an individual, I have no power or authority to evaluate or critique the leader of the free world. But together we do. We as a nation have selected this president. We as a nation are also responsible for the care of this country. May we be so inclined to set aside how hard we have debated, how diligently we have campaigned, and how adamantly we have proclaimed knowing the right way, and objectively evaluate the state of our country in 2 and 4 years. May we be wise in the years to come. Full confession, I wrote this note on election eve in 2008 when Barack Obama was first selected the President of the United States. It hasn't changed. It still applies. Different party, different president. There has to be a commitment at the local level, at the neighborly level, for us to rebuild society. We have to root for this president, people. I know you are bent on Donald Trump, but it's getting ridiculous. So back to the national media, the folks we're losing integrity in. They are doing absolutely nothing in this election cycle, post-election cycles, to bring unity to this country. They spent 2 days on a tweet that Donald Trump put forth about making it a crime to burn the American flag. Now, the Supreme Court has clearly ruled that burning the American flag is a form of free speech. And Donald Trump tweeted about his feelings on the matter. And even though we may disagree, even though it may not actually be the law of the land, he still has every right to his opinion. Every right. And many of you agree with him, including Justice Scalia, who voted or who pretty much ruled as a member of the Supreme Court that you have the right to burn the American flag as a form of free speech. But even he, in his comments, stated that if it was up to him, you would be punished for such a disrespectful act. So we can be people with opinions and sentiments and still yet that not reflect in our policy and resign ourselves to what it takes to have a civil society. I think everyone should be saving money for retirement. I think you shouldn't have to depend on Social Security for your future. I think it's a good thing to save for retirement. I also think we should not be forced to do that. I think it's a good thing for everyone to have health care. I also think government shouldn't force people to have health care. So just because we have a feeling, just because we have an opinion, doesn't necessarily mean it results in policy. Yet the national news media has held Donald Trump's, and we know that there are whimsical tweets from Donald Trump. He speaks his mind, and it doesn't necessarily speak to his action. Donald Trump has said plenty of things that he does not mean or act on. He has. Yet they want to take this one tweet and they want to drill down and spend 2 days of media coverage on this issue of freedom of speech and burning the American flag. Charles Krauthammer said it best. This issue has been settled. Drop it. Supreme Court has ruled. It's the law of the land. You're going to have free speech. It doesn't matter what Donald says. So why continue to report it? This is what I want you to listen to, folks. Why do they continue to assert and report it? Let's man up on this. They do it because working against an adversary in the White House makes for better media. And they feel adversarial to Trump. They enjoy being the anti-Trump media. And he enjoys that too. He tweets these things because he enjoys the conflict. But whether it's the national media or our president-elect, this is what I'll say to you. It's no longer healthy. It's a virus. It's eating us from the inside. Now, only one news source reported during the 2 days of media coverage about Donald Trump's tweet of burning the American flag. Only one national news source reported that the standard bearer of the Democratic Party, Hillary Clinton, supported in 2005 the very bill, co-sponsored the very bill that would have made it a crime to burn the American flag. Only one news media outlet reported that. So there's no wonder that we no longer have faith in the media. There's no longer. So what I say to the media is, man up. Stop it. Quit. Quit picking on the things that continue to foster division. The media is like this open sore that is festering with infection right now. I can't hardly turn on the television. For those of you who know me, I listen to talk radio. I can't hardly tune in to talk radio, talking heads. It's so divisive. It's so putrid. I think most of us no longer have a palate for that. What we want is solutions. So yes, does Donald Trump need to stop tweeting stupid stuff? He does. But the media needs to stop spending 48 hours in a news cycle on a tweet from Donald Trump he obviously doesn't mean, he's obviously not going to act on, while our eastern Tennessee is mowed down by storms and burns. That's right. It burns. While they report on a tweet, our community burns. Homes are flattened. And this isn't unique to us. We hear this almost every year with the wildfires out west. We hear local communities say, all of this attention goes to things that doesn't matter, that are trivial, that make for good TV. And here we sit while our homes burn. No attention, no coverage. And the media might say, well, why cover something we can't do anything about? You can do something about it. Awareness brings support. It's back to what we talked about at the beginning of this program. Awareness brings us being neighborly. We used to have men that stood up and reported the facts and encouraged people to go and change the news. Go do something. Where are those people anymore? So that's my rant on the news media. I hope that they will actually make the effort to be more responsible going forward. In the meantime, stop consuming national talking heads that work out multi-million-dollar contract deals for news entertainment in New York City. Stop tuning into those people. You really want to send a message to the national news media? Consume your media locally. I called into Emily Beatty's program on Talk 101.3, the Noonday Buzz, and I told her last night at 2:30 in the morning when my weather radio went off, where did I go for my updates? I didn't go to the National Weather Service. I didn't go to Weather Channel. I didn't go to CNN. I tuned in to a Facebook Live feed from Paul Barris at News Channel 9. And I listened to what he was watching, what he was looking at from the National Weather Service. Consumed that media locally. You want to know how the Affordable Care Act affects you? Stop listening to the talking heads on radio, broadcasting out of Texas and Florida and Nashville and New York, and go talk to somebody locally that sells health insurance. Go talk to your neighbors about their premiums. Our local communities will give us the information we need until our national news media decides to man up and be responsible with reporting. It's a virus, guys. It's a virus. We're manning up on that. No forgiveness to the national news media. Now, as far as bias, there's definitely been bias with Donald Trump. Absolute bias. I was watching some clips earlier today about how distraught people have been over this election. Now, mind you, I read you the note that I wrote in 2008 when I vehemently opposed Barack Obama as president. And many of my concerns were validated in the last 8 years. The destructive nature of what he's done with health care. He's done with trade deals, where we've seen our taxes go. The destruction of racial unity in our society. The destruction of our military. Our reduced capacity for leadership in the world. All of those were my concerns in 2008. And despite my concerns, I read you the note, the courtesy I gave our incoming president. Yet here we are, Donald Trump. Once again, I was not a Donald Trump supporter, but I'm compelling everyone to do exactly what I'm doing. Give this president a chance. It's the only hope we've got. Scuttling the ship out of spite is absolutely the most stupid move that you can possibly have. And we are paying people multi-million-dollar contracts to sit in front of a mic with a fancy suit and tie and to report the news and to distort it for our own destruction. How long are you going to sit and take that? How long? How long will it last? So, we're going to go to another commercial break. When we come back, I've got 10 minutes for you, and what I'm going to talk to you about is I want to talk to you about exactly what it means to understand where people are positioned in politics. Right now, you're hearing a lot about, well, the American people are fed up. You know, Donald Trump won the Electoral College. American people are fed up. Yet there's data saying that he didn't get any more votes than Mitt Romney got in a lot of those battleground states, that Hillary Clinton underperformed. What's the true nature of what's taking place in our community? Why do we have the racial tension? Why do we have the disagreement in the media? Why are we dealing with these things? I've got a theory. I'm going to share it with you when we come back. Once again, you're listening to The Good Doctor on Man Up America. Talk 101.3 The Buzz, WTNB Television. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we got about 10 minutes. I'm going to give you my thoughts. I'm going to man up. Tell you what I think's happening politically in our nation. And I've already given you the answer. Be neighborly. Try to be neighborly. We'll be back in a moment. The Good Dr. Jay Adam here, talking to all the gentlemen out there. For those of you with wives, girlfriends, even mothers, which would make all of you, you need to call 423-472-8887 and talk to the good folks at Bliss Day Spa. Nothing says I love you like the special treatment, the VIP treatment of the services of Bliss Day Spa. Call them today, 423-472-8887. Tell them the Good Doctor sent you from Man Up America.
So, how's the new job?
Love it. But it's not just a job, it's a career.
Life insurance? Love?
I told you Woodman Life is really active in the community, right? They support all kinds of community improvement projects. How's your job, by the way?
Don't ask.
Begin your financial career today with Woodman Life by calling 423-790-2847.
Woodman of the World Life Insurance Society of Omaha, Nebraska. Woodman Life, standing strong for generations. Woodman Life has been keeping its promises to members for more than 100 years. That means we've survived the Great Depression, Black Friday, and all the other ups and downs our economy has faced. In good times and bad, we're strong and stable. We're an organization your family can count on. At Woodman Life, we've always believed that slow and steady really does win the race. Our conservative investment philosophies are just one part of the strength of our organization. What really makes Woodman Life strong is the trust and loyalty of our members.
Contact your local Woodman representative today by calling 423-790-2847. With 3 offices serving Southeast Tennessee, your Woodman representative is standing by to help you.
Woodman of the World Life Insurance Society of Omaha, Nebraska. Woodman Life, standing strong for generations.
Are you looking to refinance your home, or perhaps you're in the market to actually purchase? Take it from the Good Dr. Jay Adam. There's no need to go far and wide to look for mortgage help. call 339-8086, Home Mortgage Solutions, LLC, right here in Cleveland. Their team's prepared to help you with lending, with refi options. Just give them a call, 339-8086, and tell them the good Dr. Jay Adams sent you. All right, we're back. Man Up America. We're manning up today. You know, I like these days where no co-hosts in the studio. It's just kind of you and me, and we're having a conversation. I like to think of this show in its broad context as us having a conversation. I hope we spark conversations. I've tried to construct this program around the things that maybe we don't talk about as much. And I know you say, listen, everybody's talking about politics. Yeah, but when's the last time someone encouraged you to look at whether or not what someone was saying was full of logical fallacies? Yeah, I know it's kind of nerdy, but we've got to commit to that level of education, to that level of scrutiny with people. We have to. Special thank you to our sponsors, Bliss Day Spa, Home Mortgage Solutions, Line-X, go see Nissan of Cleveland, buy a Nissan Titan and take it to Line-X, let them put in a spray-in bed liner. That sounds like a great scenario. Then drive your brand new truck over to Bliss Day Spa while Home Mortgage Solutions works on the refi on your house and get a back massage. Once you're done with that, visit Woodman Life for family life insurance. Now's the time of year, guys. Now is the time of year to talk about other ways of giving presents rather than just buying a bunch of useless toys. In my family, I have started the process of investing in my children's future. And I've told you on this program we do activities, but Woodman Life has some great opportunities to invest in savings for children. You need to call Woodman Life. Visit them at actually woodmanquotes.com, and you can get all the information there, woodmanquotes.com. Holiday season's a great time to do some of those things, to set them up, college savings plans, things of the like. And then don't forget the Venue Creekside. There are some Christmas specials for Christmas parties if you're looking to have any, so give them a call down there. So a special thank you to our sponsors. And why do I mention them now? Because I told you we've tried to build this program around having a conversation about the things that matter, and those people believe in that. Enough to support this show, to keep us on the air. Patronize them. Do business with people who value truth, who value manning up, who value the integrity of what we have in our communities, and who value you in a community enough to where that they would invest in a show like ours to deliver the format that we do. All right, so here's my theory. None of us are living under a rock to the tune that we don't see an all-time high in racial tensions in this nation. Just last week, we saw the attack at Ohio State, in which a student drove a car and started slashing people with a knife. We see all of these tragedies that take place in the world, and there's division. I was surprised last week, and I love the socials, the social medias, because I can tease stuff out on social media. And so I did last week. I threw out what I thought was a statement of consensus, and I had seen that maybe it wasn't, but I was really looking for a good argument. And it was this: can we not all agree that Fidel Castro was not a good person? Can we not all agree that the years and years of oppression he brought to Cuba have made humanity, human rights, and life in Cuba worse for the citizens of Cuba? Can we not agree on that? And the answer is evidently not. So I throw that on the social medias, and I just look for responses, and most of the responses were, no, Fidel Castro, not a good person. No bueno for Fidel Castro. But a few people continue to assert, well, he overthrew a brutal dictator and he did this for the community. Really look for an apologetic argument for somebody like Fidel Castro, to the tune that the National Black Lives Matters movement also praised Castro. To the tune that Colin Kaepernick, we've talked about him on this program, the quarterback for the 49ers, who's been protesting the national anthem about racial injustice in this country, makes the statement that he admired Fidel Castro, and the son of a Cuban refugee who played defense for the Miami Dolphins in the game Sunday against Colin Kaepernick and the 49ers, had the defensive game of his life against Colin Kaepernick, knocking the 49ers out of the playoffs, sacking Colin Kaepernick, intercepting him. And then when they asked him in the post-game press conference, what motivated you to the best defensive game that you've ever had? And he said, when that guy said what he said about Fidel Castro, they said, did his comments about Fidel Castro have anything to do with your aggression and performance in today's game? He said, absolutely. My father was a Cuban refugee. Those divisive things. We live in a society right now where it seems like everything is up for debate. If you were to go on Facebook and you were to put right now that you believed sunny weather was the best weather, someone is going to argue with you about how stupid you are. And it's ridiculous. There are things worth debating. There are gray areas in our life that take discussion. We man up on them on this program all the time. When Demetrius Ramsey finally comes on here and we get a chance to talk about racial tension in this country, we're going to get a chance to really drill down into this gray area of why there's dissent in this country. But there is no reason for what appears to be the flagship movement in racial equality to support Fidel Castro. I've not heard a valid argument yet. But why are we so compelled to argue about everything? And here's the deal. I think, this is me manning up with my opinion on this program, I think it's more about us not liking each other, being combative against one another, fighting one another, than it is about whether or not we truly believe an argument. There's things we haven't considered in our society. A lot of you think of politics as linear. There's liberals, there are conservatives, and then there's people in the center. And I've talked about on this program how independents are not all centrists, that there are independents who are more extreme on the right and more extreme on the left. So not everybody fits into this polarity of whether you're liberal or conservative. And some of you would acknowledge that it's not just liberal and conservative, but there's socially liberal and physically liberal and socially conservative and physically conservative. So maybe it's on two axes that we kind of chart ourselves ideologically. But what I'm going to tell you is it's not just those things, that there's this third axis. There's this battle right now between people who are people of faith and human good, and I say faith, not necessarily Christian faith, but you may be Jewish, you may have faith in some moral code that compels you to be good to your fellow man, and secularism, which says the enemy must be smited. Now, we've seen that some people that Trump are considering for his cabinet have actually come out and declared that Islam is a political movement, not a religious movement. And that's the idea that they fall on, that there's this secularist perspective that we are disposable creatures in this rat race of life, and one day when we die, we go nowhere. There's no reason to be good, bad, or anything else. We are what we are, and we are in a constant battle of whether or not we're going to be good or evil. But then there's another chunk of people who believe that there's a moral faith imperative to how we live in this world. And so what I'm going to tell you is if you are a person of faith, recognize that you cannot remove the worldview of faith from your political arguments. It should compel you to do things greater than you've ever done them before. It should compel you to be neighborly in moments like we've seen with these natural disasters. And we'll leave all of the folks who bask in secularism to have debates on whether or not Fidel Castro was a good person. We'll leave them to that stuff. People of faith, mobilize. Cut off the festering wound that is the national media. Get out into your communities and make a difference. You've been listening to Man Up America. We'll see you tomorrow, 1 p.m.